right. Well, welcome to today, everyone. We are so excited and definitely honored to have Eddy Patterson here. He is a very incredible entrepreneur who has multiple, businesses here in Austin. You are the co-founder of EBERLY, the co-founder of Stubbs Barbecue. Mm-hmm. You are the CEO and founder of Flatlander Foods. Mm-hmm. And you are also, I guess, now the CEO and owner of Austin's Pizza. And we'll kind of delve into each of those entities here. But you have some very iconic places here in Austin. Mm-hmm. I feel like when people look at where to go to eat in Austin, Stubbs, Austin's Pizza, and EBERLY are all on those lists, right? And they're all very different types of cuisine. So clearly, for the sake of conversation, I kind of want to delve into kind of what your first true venture was, which was Stubbs Barbecue. So why don't you give us a little history of that and how you kind of came about with that?
Well, first of all, it's great to be here with you and talking a little bit about these things. And, I'm one of those guys that just fell into the right opportunity at the right time. And you're right, these places that you mentioned, we're just so honored that they are part of our Austin fabric and culture, right? The Stubbs barbecue story really started with me when really my parents. I'm from Lubbock, Texas. Stubb had a restaurant in Lubbock, Texas, and my parents would go there back in 1970. So it was something just part of our lives. My other partner that we started with, he's also from Lubbock. And same thing, his parents went there, and it was an opportunity as we grew up. Stubb, which we'll get into a little bit, was very much a real person.
Yeah.
He was. It was funny. He was 6'5" with his cowboy hat, about 6'9", had the hands of a brisket. Mm-hmm. He was larger than life, right? And his story is so unique and inspiring. But he had a great barbecue sauce, and he would give it to friends and family during Christmas and holidays. But he came to us when we were, in our 20s, and he said, "Hey, can you help me get our barbecue sauce into grocery stores?" And so, young and dumb, I guess, at the time, we said, sure, we would help Stubb. And that's really what embarked on this. I always tell people the 25-year overnight success story.
Yeah.
So we went and knocked on, H-E-B, United's, Kroger's, Walmart, Costco's, every grocery store in the country, every trade show you can imagine. And through a lot of hard work and effort, we were able to get his barbecue sauce on pretty much every grocery store in the country. And really internationally. So it's really an amazing story. It's a great product, and we just had so much fun doing it. Mm-hmm. We sold the company to McCormick in 2015, again, after many years of doing this. But we kept our restaurant. We also had a restaurant that we opened in going back 1994.
Yeah.
And the restaurant became one of the most iconic restaurants, live music venues in the country. It's amazing the people that came and played in our backyard. Mm-hmm. And so we just had so much fun with our friends and family, and being able to help share his story is really what we did. So
so two questions here, because we kind of talked about both the barbecue sauce and the venue, but let's rewind back to the barbecue sauce. Tell me, because it is an iconic brand. So when I say that it's recognizable. You say Stubbs barbecue sauce, I picture the label, the big letters. I picture good old Stubb right on top of it. Yep. But how did y'all come up with that? What made y'all decide, hey, I want a picture of him on the label?
I think it's important to be authentic, and Stubbs, has that in spades, right? It's his image, it's his picture, it's his recipe that's in the bottle still today.
Yeah.
So nothing's changed there. Very proud of that fact. And it's something that resonates with everyone. But it's, we were talking earlier that, when you look at other products in the market, Uncle Ben's rice, there is no Uncle Ben. There was no Land of Lakes lady for the butter. There is no Aunt Jemima. Mm-hmm. These were marketing kind of made up personalities. Stubbs is absolutely the most authentic, real product that you can experience. Mm-hmm. And I think consumers really not just buy into that, but they identify with that.
Well, yeah, because they're like, this is a real person. This is his real recipe.
And his grandsons, his grandsons are, Stubbs is no longer with us. He passed, but his grandsons are still with the company and a big part of, the legacy. And so to your point, his image, his likeness, his recipes, I think that's something that will live in eternity and around the world. And, great barbecue is such a common denominator, connecting thing. You know, when you have great food, it just brings people together. And
Yeah.
I had a front row seat to watch that my whole life. So
That's
it was a
amazing.
lot of fun. Of course, a lot of hard work, but we just rolled up our sleeves and created the opportunity.
Yeah. Well, and I feel like now let's shift to the Stubbs location in downtown Austin. I feel like y'all did a great job of like channeling who he was, because it is very authentic. The music venue is authentic. It is such a fun place, and it's again iconic. But I want to know, back in what you said, 1994 is when y'all bought that dirt.
We did.
How did you have the foresight to say, okay, this location? I mean, you are literally right there.
Yeah, we're right in the middle of downtown. Austin's changed a lot over 25 years, right?
And can you give the cross streets just
Yeah,
in
it's
case
Red
people...
River and 8th and Red River. So
Yes.
we're right there at I-35. And honestly was not, when we acquired that property and we bought that, which is very unique for restaurants to own their own land, right? But we were able to purchase the property, put a lot of renovation into it, blood, sweat, and years and tears into it. And I think we really improved the whole area down there, because it was just really a kind of a dangerous area, right?
Yeah.
And so I remember, people always ask me, what's your favorite show? And I would always think about that. And I remember we tried to get Willie Nelson to play there. I mean, multiple times, right?
Yeah.
We asked him to play, and Larry Trader, his manager at the time, would say, no, we can't do this, and for various reasons. But we finally got him to agree to play one time. And I'll never forget, in our little backyard in Stubbs, we said, Larry kind of asked us, well, how many people can this fit? Because we're not a traditional venue like, here's your seat, go sit down. It's just kind of a big,
open area.
big
And
crushed
there's
granite,
some picnic tables.
Yeah, exactly.
Or,
so it's not your typical venue, but his response goes, well, after Willie plays here, I'll tell you how many people it can hold. And so,
that's great.
It was pretty funny, because I think our venue holds about 2,300 people, right? Which is considered a medium-sized venue. But I look back over the years, and we may not be the biggest venue, but in terms of ticket sales and what the team was able to do was amazing, because we were one of the top venues in the country in terms of ticket sales.
Yeah.
Not per show, but when you add up all the shows that we would do, and they still do it. I mean, Live Nation and all C3 and all those guys are just continuing the legacy, and it's a wonderful experience to go down and see a show outside in downtown Austin.
Yeah.
And so it was just a lot of fun to be part of the barbecue sauce, be a part of the venue.
Yeah.
And I look back, and it was just of course, a lot of hard work, but it started falling together. We had a great team, and it was fun to watch the story and his legacy continue to be what it is today.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. That's amazing. So we've already seen your entrepreneurial skills with going door to door knocking, which is pretty impressive, with Stubbs Barbecue. And then of course the amazing iconic venue, which probably contributed to Austin being the live music capital of the world. Let's be honest. Stubbs was really
played a part, sure.
A big part of it, I think, personally. That's my opinion.
You,
I'm fifth generation Austinite, so, kind of seen everything throughout the years. But let's talk about your other pretty iconic restaurant that's, I would say, kind of become a real showstopper here in Austin, and is probably on the list of places for people to eat, but EBERLY.
Right.
Why don't you tell us kind of what was your first, the vision when you were first wanting to create EBERLY? Because that is very different than Stubbs Barbecue.
It absolutely is. It's another kind of big departure, but the background story on that is that when we lived in New York, my partners and I, when we were up in New York, just out of college and starting Stubbs, there was a bar that we used to go to called the Cedar Tavern. And my brother took me there when I lived up there for a little while. And so we would always hang out there. Beautiful bar down at, I think, University Place, 11th and University. And it was a bar that had, been there for over 100 years. Jackson Pollock, Warhol, all the beatnik writers of the day, all the artists of that period, Bob Dylan. It just goes on and on. But Jimi Hendrix, I think, hung out in there sometimes. So it was just an amazing bar in New York City. And we had the opportunity. One day, my brother's best friend calls me and he said, the Cedar Tavern's for sale. And we were living in Austin, and I'll try to make this story kind of quick, but I said, well, that's too bad. We're already started Stubbs. We can't buy a bar in New York City. He said, well, it's not the bar, but they want the structure, the physical bar. And I said, okay, well, so I emailed this guy. I said, how much for the bar? Just an email, right? And I didn't think much of it. And I got an email back from the guy selling it, and he told me about the bar. And at the end of it, he said, is your brother Bobby Patterson? And my brother had passed about 7 years before. And I said, I just got chills. I was like, wow, he knew my brother. So I felt very connected to follow through. Like, what does this mean for me?
Yeah.
I had no intentions of anything, just other than, it was a place that I enjoyed going with him. And so I reached out to him. Turns out they knew each other. And he knew about Stubbs and, my what I was working on. And he said, I think you'd be a perfect person to buy this bar. And so he helped us buy it. And
so the physical
bar, right?
That all those legendary people sat.
And that kind of was seeded the EBERLY experience. So if you go to EBERLY, in the back room, that's still called the Cedar Tavern, right?
Yeah.
And so that iconic bar, I mean, this is a 100-year-old bar that they just don't make them like that anymore. We were able to purchase. We put it on a truck. We drove it to
carefully.
Austin. Yeah. Oh, 300 pieces. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was quite an effort, but we got it down to Austin, and we had it in storage for 10 years because I thought we would put it in Stubbs, but that opportunity didn't present itself. Right. We couldn't for lots of reasons, but we had it in storage for 10 years, and then we bought the property on Lamar, and we didn't know what to name it at the time, but we found a location that the bar would fit in, and I'll share with you the reason. I don't know if do you know what EBERLY, the term EBERLY? Have you ever heard of Angelina EBERLY?
No, I haven't.
This is a cool story. So Angelina EBERLY is considered to be the savior of Austin. So when the war was happening, with the Mexican and the Texan war, at the time there was an inn in Austin, and Angelina EBERLY's parents had this inn, and Angelina EBERLY overheard this was after the Texas won the war, right, and was becoming its own nation, and President Houston and all that was happening. She overheard a conversation that they were going to take the archives and take them from Austin and take them down to Houston, where they wanted Houston to be the capital. So there's a statue on Congress. If you've probably driven by it a million times.
Yeah, I just have never known the story.
That's Angelina EBERLY.
Oh,
and
wow.
she's firing a cannon because in the middle of the night, they came in with this 30-wagon brigade. They were going to take those archives, and they were going to steal them and take them down to Houston to make it the capital. And she fired that cannon as a revolt and said, no, Austin is the capital, and we should keep the archives here. And that's why we pay homage to her, because Austin wouldn't be here if it wasn't for her heroic act.
That's awesome.
Isn't that cool?
That is so cool.
That's why we call it EBERLY. And then we have the Cedar Tavern in the back. And, we've been operating for 8 years now, and, we've had some ups and downs, but it's a beautiful location. We have a great team of people that have they've been there since day one. And I would just add, really that the reason Stubbs is successful, the reason EBERLY is successful, is that we just have such a family of people, the right people that want to be there, that enjoy being a part of that. And, that's definitely a key to all the success.
Well, and it's unique. The things that you put, just from the name, right? And the bar, right? The long, deep, rich history of that. To me, the process of creating EBERLY is so unique because of the different elements you put into it. Right. It's like to me, you were really thoughtful in the process of it. But I'm curious too, what strategy-wise, how did you shift gears from Stubbs? I know barbecue, I know barbecue sauce, I know entertainment, to creating the type of cuisine you did with EBERLY. How did that kind of come to fruition?
Again, it's just talented chefs, but I think what I take away from all these places that you've said is that the formula to me to make it successful is the experience, right? Everyone as consumers today have lots of choices when they go out to eat. In fact, you can get anything you want delivered. Third-party delivery, AI, all that stuff is really challenging for operators. So I think that really the successful part of Stubbs, the successful part of EBERLY is an experience. Like, you want to see a show at Stubbs, you want to have great barbecue. At EBERLY, we have birthday parties, bachelorette parties, engagements, weddings, events. And so when you celebrate life, that I think is where our model, if you will, is really becomes, yes, you got to have a good product, you got to have good food, good service, all those things. But if you can provide an experience, I think that's really what's going to separate you. And I think it's going to allow you to be successful for the long term. So that's an important part as a hospitality, in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, and I think food connects people, right? Food connects all different walks of life. I don't care what political belief you are, what spiritual belief you are. I feel like when you eat food, you can connect, right? There's such a community when you're eating and you're talking about good food. I always laugh because I love to go to like new restaurants and fun places. I wouldn't consider myself a foodie, but I love the experience of it. Yeah. I love looking at, look at this incredible architecture like that they did with this restaurant. Like, one of my favorite, like Fonda San Miguel, right? Yeah. I love when you go there. It's amazing. It's just the architecture.
And it hasn't changed.
It hasn't changed.
It just works. Yeah.
And it's so unique, right? Again, like, I'm not any sort of food connoisseur, but I do love the experience. And I think you've done both with EBERLY. So it's super impressive. And I'm pretty sure it is on one of those lists of, if you go to Austin, you need to eat at these places.
Right.
Hey, I'm Brandon Sparks with Nautilus Lending. We're a full-service mortgage lender and brokerage based right here in Austin, Texas, but serving not just Texas, Florida, and Tennessee as well. One of the things we're really, really good at is creative financing, and it doesn't matter whether you're a first-time home buyer or a seasoned investor. We have loan programs to facilitate everything legally possible. You can find out more about us at www.nautilus-lending.com. That's www.nautilus-lending.com.
Okay, so then why don't you tell us a little bit about Austin's Pizza, because that's also kind of impressive with what you did with Austin's Pizza. Kind of tell us how that kind of took off for you.
Right. So when Stubbs, when we sold that to McCormick in 2015, I had some non-competes. There's certain things I couldn't do, which is that's okay. Mm-hmm. But I could stay in the grocery industry, right? And so that's what I knew how to do. And so I went to, I bumped into JD, who owned at the time Austin's Pizza, and I bumped into him. We were buddies, and I said, "Hey, would you be interested if I took Austin's Pizza and just show that took this product to the grocery stores?"
Yeah.
And so, and he was like, "Oh man, no, you don't get it. We're about delivery." And I said, "Well, maybe you could do both, right? Let me see if I can make this pizza, a frozen pizza, and we'll put it into HEBs." And we were able to do that. And we're in like 200 HEBs at the moment, and still are. And so that was kind of how I got involved in the Austin's Pizza brand. And so I would pay them a royalty. I'd make it and do everything and distribute it and put it in the grocery stores. Because that's my background. And that's what I did. And so we're still selling that today in HEBs. It does very well there. And so that's how I got close to the product. And not Austin's Pizza goes back to 1999. Yeah. So, it was it started way before I was here, but I was a big fan of it. I loved the product. And then with the frozen in there. And I think COVID really changed the landscape for a lot of people for a lot of reasons, right? And so when COVID hit, all restaurants were the first ones to close down.
Right.
The last ones to open. And it was really a difficult time for Stubbs, for EBERLY, for Austin's Pizza, every restaurant. And so, thankfully, the grocery business,
so I was about to say,
was kind of a good hedge, right? Mm-hmm. People were buying a lot of frozen pizzas, and again, it's a great space to play in. But I think when that happened, maybe some fatigue or whatever, but there was an opportunity for me to come in and purchase Austin's Pizza, and so I did that about a year ago, And sadly, or not sadly, but reality is not. It's just the locations did come back a little bit because, let's face it, a lot of restaurants had to close down.
Yeah.
And so, and it really wasn't their fault. It was just the environment.
Right.
And so Austin's Pizza has 5 locations now. And I'm really excited about the brand because what I would like to do and intend to do is we got to win at third-party delivery. We're going to put in AI, which is some things, just loyalty and just improve a lot of our logistics and how we interact with the world of Ubers and the world of Favors and the world of DoorDash. I mean, that is a big part of our business. But I'm also wanting to, with the Westlake location, create an experience, right?
Right.
And if we can improve that experience, I think we'll be very successful with that product. So I'm really excited about that, and that'll be happening in the fall, where we can create a family-centric environment to have fun, eat pizza, you know, and be with your family and have that time because, as I get older, I look back and I'm like, those moments are, you don't get those every day. So really cherish those if you can. And that's what we intend to do. And we're really excited about getting that, having that opportunity, in just the next couple of weeks, I guess. So
yeah, that's
should be
exciting.
fun.
So is that going to be one of your first revamps? Is the Westlake location?
Correct. Yes. Yeah.
Do you have plans to kind of evaluate all the other locations and see, because you have some unique locations around Austin,
Right.
like you still
Bingo. Yep. It's a location thing. And I think exactly, this is the Westlake is a very unique location. It has these great oak trees. You have this big playground, so it just creates that environment that I think people want to hang out in.
Right.
And so we'll do movie night, play sports and all that kind of thing. So I think it's going to do really well. Some of the other locations don't have that opportunity because it's more kind of a delivery with kind of in a building, if you will.
Yeah.
But
like
I don't know. I mean, I think, we'll just have to kind of see what opportunities, present themselves. But we just got to get this one right first, and then we can certainly evaluate, how that can go.
Well, I mean, you've had clearly your background speaks for itself. You've had such success with, like you said, getting Stubbs into the stores, now Austin's Pizza into the stores, and creating two different unique environments with EBERLY and Stubbs. So
Yes.
I have no doubt that Austin's Pizza is going to be amazing, and I think it's going to be fantastic.
Well, it's Austin's changed a lot over 25 years. So I think having something that you said, beloved, iconic, that people know. I mean, it's in conversations. I'm like, I used to go there when I was a kid, or my kids go there.
Yeah.
To me, it's very familiar, and it's part of our culture. And it's, I think those are some of the values that we're, trying. And it's local. And I think people do enjoy and want to support local companies. And I think that's especially when everybody wants to be in Austin, right? So change is inevitable, especially in Austin. I've seen a lot of great things happen, but change is sometimes can come with some hard, more competition, more regulation, more whatever.
Yeah.
But it's a great place to be in business, and we're blessed to be able to be here and call Austin home and operate. So it's we're not going anywhere.
Yeah, no, that's amazing.
On that same note about the vibe, you said the aesthetic of Stubbs is very different from the aesthetic of EBERLY. Now you've got Austin's Pizza. And I think you were showing me before the podcast is that what you had over there? Was some of the
some renditions. Yeah.
Some stuff that kind of shows what it's going to look like, or
one thing, thank you, Travis, because some of the things that Austin's Pizza is doing outside of the locations is that we're selling pizzas at ACL. It's one of the biggest, obviously it's a huge music festival worldwide, and we're fortunate enough to be able to sell our pizzas, and it reaches hundreds of thousands of people. We're also selling at COTA for the F1 and all the shows out there. So that's been a lot of fun as well.
Love F1, huge F1 fan.
Yeah, F1 is great.
If you can get me to an F1 race, I would really appreciate it.
But I didn't realize, me too, right? I didn't realize, 300,000 people, maybe more, show up for that. I mean, so for us to sell a lot of pizzas is, it's a challenge, but we can do it, and it's exciting. But this is, and you'll see some of the things that we'll share online, but just some of the operational things that we've done: improve the website, create loyalty programs, do more marketing. Just, I think one thing that I've learned recently is, and I share this with people, if you're not in the tech, like if your business is not taking a step forward in AI or tech, you won't be in business. It's just, I know in real estate, obviously, you guys, have those tools.
Yeah.
Because it's an important part of your business strategy. And so we're trying to improve all those things, and we'll see if it works, right?
Yeah.
But no, thank you. Yeah, the things that we're trying to do to create be authentic, be part of Austin, but do it in a fun environment, fun way.
Yeah. Well, I mean, clearly, I'm sure it's going to be amazing. It's exciting to see what you're going to do with that place, especially with what you've done in the past. Okay, so Flatlander Foods. That's another thing that you are, a co-founder of as well.
Yes.
Or I guess owner of it. But why don't you tell everyone here who may not know what Flatlander Foods is,
Right.
A little bit about it.
Sure. So that's a pretty exciting project as well. So Flatlander Foods is the operating entity that does all the Austin's pizza, the frozen pizzas, right? And so we set up that company. But when COVID hit, and again, when all the restaurants closed down, I got a call from Chuck E. Cheese. And so Chuck E. Cheese, they have 450 locations nationwide. And they were, obviously they had to go into bankruptcy. They were looking for other opportunity for revenue streams. And they reached out to me and they said, Eddy, would you help us with a frozen pizza for the grocery project? Or the grocery channel rather. And I said, absolutely. So I entered into an exclusive nationwide license agreement with Chuck E. Cheese corporate.
Amazing.
And we put that in and so I pay them a royalty for that.
Right.
We make it, sell it, distribute it. And we're nationwide with Walmart. We've got Winn-Dixie's. We had Kroger. There's just a lot of, space. And, one thing I can share with you, the barbecue channel versus the frozen pizza channel, it's the frozen pizza space is just a really, really big, amazing opportunity. It's very controlled, very tight because it's in a frozen section and you don't see as many barbecue sauces, but it's really the same, you're still a grocery, you're still the same process. And so I have a great partnership with Chuck E. Cheese corporate. They're very excited about what we're doing on the frozen pizzas and what we've been able, distribution we've achieved, and from West Coast to Florida. And we're also introducing a snack roll, which is something we're going to be introducing this year as well. And remember, the Chuck E. Cheese, they have 450 locations. They're also iconic.
They're iconic.
Yeah, they've been around 40 years.
Yeah.
And another experience where kids go in and
every birthday. When I was
right,
a kid,
and it's
probably.
it's an interesting pizza because when you look at the frozen pizza section, it's the demographics. The number 1 or 2 demographic are kids from 5 to 16, and I think we uniquely align very strong with that demographic. I mean, frozen pizzas are, yes, everyone buys that from 5 to 80, but to be able to identify, and you're going back to that that Chuck E. Cheese image, and for kids. And I've said this before, the pizza has to identify for a kid's profile, kid's taste. So it's just cheese and pepperoni. And, but it's a fun brand and it's a great partnership. And so, I always share people, when things are going bad, or like COVID, for example, very bad, and we were all had to experience that, sometimes opportunity can present itself. And so we were very fortunate that that's came around. And I've had that, we've had that now 5 years, and we're just building it. So hopefully that'll continue. So that is part of the Flatlander.
That's very cool. Yeah. Well, it's so funny. Like, I think of pizza, like it's probably the most popular food choice, right? If you're not
cheeseburgers and pizza,
cheeseburger and pizza. But it made me think of we just did a podcast with Jason Black, who runs Butler Pitch and Putt, and so I always get that mixed up. Sorry, Jason. But he said, golf is something you can do from the cradle to the grave. And that's what I feel like about pizza. I feel like you love it from a young age and you'll eat it until your old age, I feel like that was probably one of the first foods, like every one of my kids, like when you like gave them their first piece of pizza, it was like,
Yeah.
this is the best thing I've ever eaten. So it's no wonder that it's a popular.
You ready for to quantify that a little bit?
Oh boy,
Yes,
that's
that's fun.
Quantify it.
So when you look at like frozen pizzas sold in grocery stores, it's a $6 billion category just in grocery stores. Now, if you take that and do food service, like the Domino's, the Pizza Huts, and all that of the world, $50 billion a year. So Americans like their pizza. And the challenges for us was the most, when you look at the Ukraine and what was happening there, most of our wheat and flour for pizzas was coming from that region. So, supply chain and being able to understand that is definitely a real thing. So,
And you having to probably maybe pivot a little bit.
So we did. We had to raise our prices on some items. Everyone had to go through that.
Everyone,
the inflationary world we lived in, and that hurts consumers for sure, especially when you're feeding family and kids. And so, I'm happy that we were able to this year lower our price through some just supply chain negotiations and co-packing opportunities. And so we're able to be competitive because. In my experience in grocery world, you have to, whatever you're selling has to be under $10, right? If it goes under $10, the consumer is just, it's hard to make that purchase decision for a family, right?
Right.
And so our pizzas are $5.99, $6.99, and that's where we like to, kind of stay in that lane, if you will.
It's probably a sweet spot for you.
But yeah, I like what you're saying. Pizza, people will buy pizza their whole life, and I've enjoyed it. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah. And it's funny because we will try to let's try cauliflower crust pizza or this, but we laugh because our son was doing like a summer camp thing about a month ago, and they took him to Chuck E. Cheese.
Oh, great.
And we were laughing because we were like, how many pieces of pizza did he eat? They're like, oh, he ate like 4 pieces of cheese pizza. Yeah. And I'm like, it's because it's like real cheese pizza. It's not cauliflower crust pizza. Yeah. And so it's funny because there's just something so authentic about the basics of it.
I didn't know this either as when I got around Chuck E. Cheese. I mean, I didn't know much about it. But did you know that they make their own dough and they make from the scratch?
I did know that.
I was like, that's so they really do make their own pizzas there. And they buy whole mozzarella, so that's a really good product. And so I think, people enjoy the product, and I think that's I don't think you're going to stay in business for 40 years if you don't, offer a good product, right?
Yeah.
So, and now they're doing things like putting jump houses and all that in there, and because a lot of the older kids, if you go to these other big jumpy houses, the young kids just get run over.
They get run over.
So I think parents are kind of looking for. Anyway, but
and they've done a good job of revamping them.
Yeah, they
too,
have.
By the way,
they've done a great job.
Yeah, but it's definitely something that Chuck E. Cheese is iconic, of course, in your childhood. So that's great. But I feel like let's talk about you have purchased the property. In how many of these locations? So EBERLY, you own the dirt?
Yes.
Stubbs?
Yes.
You own the dirt?
Well, we did. We bought it, and then when we sold Stubbs to Live Nation.
Oh, yeah, that's right. You did sell, yes.
But to answer your question, yes, owning your real estate for your restaurant is if you can do that, go for it.
Yeah.
Because there's an old saying in real estate, you never pay too much, you just buy it too early, right? And I've always liked that. So if you can hang into and retire the debt, it's kind of a covered land play, they call it. You're operating on the land that you own. It's always going to work. It's a model that, of course, it's a model that works.
That works.
Well, I mean, I know this is Hollywood too, so grain of salt, but like that Founder movie about not the actual McDonald's brothers, but Ray Kroc, the guy who
that's what he did.
Basically took over McDonald's from the McDonald's brothers.
Yes.
The whole thing is it's a real estate play.
A real estate play,
McDonald's Corporation, which is owned by Ray Kroc, owns the dirt under all the McDonald's.
And he leases it back. Yes,
and he leases it to the franchisee. I mean, that's the whole thing. So, yeah.
Now, with Austin's Pizza, just transparent, I don't, great landlords. That was something because we purchased the leases and we bought into the business. So which is fine. Leases, I'm not saying leases don't work. But if you can own it, it's better.
Well, in the right locations.
In the right locations,
Yeah.
And and so the real estate part of our business, and from Stubbs to EBERLY, has really is been a great dynamic to creating wealth and value. And I've seen that personally, just residential. Some of the stuff that I've done throughout my, my career is watching, the appreciation in Austin. Buy a house, fix it up, sell it, and do that 5 times. It works.
Yeah.
And so I don't know what that looks. I don't have a crystal ball to know what that looks like long term, but I do get a sense and a feel that, it's no surprise that people move here all the time, and it's one of the most popular cities in the country. For that reason, people want to be here. So I love real estate, and it's been good to us, and I suspect it'll continue to be good, right?
Well, I have a feeling, how was purchasing that South Lamar location for EBERLY? Was that a tricky situation? Was it pleasantly, smooth? I'm curious.
Yeah.
Because it's a fantastic location.
Well, it was, and when we bought that, we thought for sure we overpaid. And it was, but we have good relationships with brokers and real estate people, obviously, bankers, and I think banks typically, if they see you're experienced and you've done this before, and you have a right concept, and banks will, if obviously they're in a position where the land collateralizes the note, so they win. If it doesn't work out, so typically that works for all parties. And so there's again, it just allows you to be more invested in what you're doing operationally.
Right.
And I use that as an example because if you're, say, a restaurant and you become very successful and you're in a lease, unless you have a lease that works long term, I've seen that my whole career. People on different locations throughout Austin, at the end of their lease, they're upside down, and the management wants to sell it or make the lease where you can't operate, and that happens a lot. So it's not every day that you're able to do that. It is more risky, but I'm of the opinion if you can take a risk and you have the ability to do it, it's everyone has a different appetite for risk.
Yeah.
But I think that's part of being an entrepreneur. You have to take that risk, and hopefully it all works out. I've had lots of businesses too that don't work out. So there's I'm here today to talk about all the fun stuff that has worked.
Yeah.
But there's businesses that I've had that haven't worked, and it's just it's in the wrong environment sometimes. And it doesn't mean the hard work wasn't put in there, but sometimes things beyond your control can happen. So you have to weather some of that as well. So
well, it seems like you've learned from it, and you have created just some very amazing places. And I think that should not go unnoticed. But if you could give, let's think about your younger self. Yes, I have to also say that you went to Baylor University, so clearly that entrepreneur business program paid off, everyone.
I was going to say earlier, you're from Lubbock.
There you go, right?
Traci, you're from Austin. You both betrayed your hometowns and went to Baylor.
Betrayed our hometowns.
I know. That's a long line, I think, though. Some people, Austin's just so attractive for a lot of reasons. It's hard to overlook Austin, I guess. So.
Well, Austin's great too. There's so many great places to go to school. You have A&M that's not far away. University of Houston, Baylor, SMU, TCU, Texas. You really are. It's almost like a little pin needle. Just spin it around, and you're not too far from a lot of great universities.
Well, at Baylor, there was only 2 places to go in Waco, right? Dallas and Austin. Yeah. Waco. Have you been through it now? It's crazy. Oh, it's great. It's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
going, this would have been nice when I was in college to have all these places to go to. But starting at a young age, clearly you had that foresight and kind of that drive to be an entrepreneur. But what would be your best word of advice for people? Because you clearly, like you mentioned, you've had some downs, you've had some bumps, you've had some bruises. What's your best piece of advice for someone who's wanting to either start a business, whether it's here in Austin or anywhere, but in any type of business? What would be your best piece of advice if you could go back and tell yourself, hey, Eddy, remember this during those really hard times?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I thought you might ask me that.
Oh.
Because, but that is the conversation of an entrepreneur. What is it that, if you want to call yourself an entrepreneur, and we talked a little bit about risk, but I think before you take the risk, it comes within, and you have to, in my opinion, believe. You have to believe that you can do it. You have to almost manifest it to happen, because your belief becomes your thoughts, and then your thoughts become your actions, and your actions will become the success that you want. And it's a process. And, I don't, to me, success is a journey. It's never a destination, and it's never given. It's always earned, and it's never overnight. And so I say those things because the principles and the values will never change. You have to put in the hard work. And I tell that to my kids. I tell that to myself. And, the most inspiring people are not the ones that have, already reached success. It's when you watch people put in the work. And when they do that with a discipline and just a pragmatic approach, don't worry about success. It will come. It'll be there.
Yeah.
People, and we talk about this a lot in our families. Like, it's not the money, power, fame, whatever that is. If you believe in yourself and what you're doing, your mission, your purpose, the whys of the world, all that stuff will fall into place. And it may be corny, maybe some people believe in that or not, but it's really, that's how I operate. And it's so far so good, right?
Yeah.
And to your point, sometimes you do take a knee, you fall down, but you never learn from success. You've heard this. You always learn from failure.
Yeah.
And if you can keep going and never quit, you never fail, right? And so those things are kind of ingrained in me in principles, and you do have to be, when you're an entrepreneur, you're the inspirational leader. You're the one that people are going to look to for the answers and the responsibility. So you have to be able to, whatever you're doing, to set the standard and set the code. Your team will be watching you.
Right.
And I think that's really a virtuous thing that you need to be able to instill with your team and be a leader and be a team member too, right? So those are, but I think those are, again, I think it's all about your belief, and it starts there. And, a lot of times, have you ever heard somebody say, you can't do that, you shouldn't do that? I don't live in that world. I never have, and it's, I hope I don't ever.
Yeah. Someone says that to you, I bet you say, hear me roar, right?
I mean, 100%. Yeah, I really do. I mean, because I do believe that, no one is going to just bring something to, maybe they do, but in my life, that no one ever just, here you go. We had to create our own opportunities,
right,
and put the work in. And I tell you what, when you do that, you respect it more, you value it more, and I think you know it better. You know your business, you know what works, what doesn't work, and you have more fun doing it.
Yeah.
So, and I always tell people that, that if you love what you're doing, you've heard this, you never work a day in your life. And I really believe that. I just have more fun, doing what I do now, and the watching the successes that we've had, and it's been a blast. So.
Yeah. Well, you've done a great job creating very unique cultures at each of your, restaurants. And I think that really comes through. So I hope if anyone that's listening today has never been to EBERLY, you need to try it out. It's stunning. Go get a picture at that iconic bar, right?
Right.
In the back. Austin's Pizza. We're looking forward to the Westlake location here kind of getting revamped. It'll be exciting. And also Stubbs. If you haven't been there, guys, you need to go. It's amazing. So thank you so much, Eddy. You were a pleasure to talk to. You really seem to have, done a lot in your lifetime. And it's really, really impressive, because you really do love what you do. And that shows through in your businesses, right?
Has anyone ever pointed out to you that sauces, barbecue, hot sauce, a bar, and a restaurant are three of the iconically toughest businesses to do?
Oh gosh, no, 80%.
You must love the risk or love the pain of because those are known to be three just almost impossible to
Barbecue sauce is maybe one of the hardest categories in the grocery business.
Yeah,
100%. I think, and to your point, restaurants, 80% of them fail the first year, maybe higher than that. And then 80% of them failed the second year. So they're definitely hard businesses. And honestly, I really don't know how how I was attracted to those, but I'm glad I was, And I think honestly, I think some vision and like you said, risk, that you just have to kind of follow your heart and what excites you. Because there's an old saying that, you go to bed tired and you wake up hungry, and I've done that every day.
Well, kudos.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, and you did such a unique job. I mean, when we talk about barbecue sauce, though, I'll tell you, I won't, there's only maybe 1 or 2 barbecue sauces I'll buy. I never even look for another option.
Right.
Unless we're going to do some sort of keto, something, I need to be no sugar or whatever, but they're just not good.
Yeah.
But, I would say that you've done a good job of creating something that is recognizable. And of course, quality matters as well. So for me, I don't eat barbecue every day. I'll do sometimes chicken baked with, barbecue in the crock pot, but I don't really steer away from maybe 1 or 2 brands, and Stubbs is one of them. I don't think I ever look at any other brand. So that's kudos to what you guys did, and of course to Stubbs. But
well, thank you for that. And there was an article this month, and I may get this wrong, but I think it was Food and Wine or Southern Living, and they asked professional chefs, right? People that we know that obviously that do this for a living, and they asked them if because they like to make their own sauces, professional chefs, right? And they asked them, and it was quite an extensive survey. Said, if you're not making your own sauce, what would you buy off the shelf? And they all unanimously agreed Stubbs. And so,
that's awesome.
It's one of Stubbs. When he passed, one of the last things he said to us is don't change my sauce. And so I get kind of emotional thinking that, we honored what one of his last words to us was don't change my sauce. And trust me, in boardrooms and meetings, you can always change it, and for various reasons, for cost or what have you, or taste, but we've kept that. And so that, that's kind of an inspirational, and I'm so glad that you've enjoyed it, because there's nothing like feeding your friends and family, and when they're happy, you're happy.
Yeah.
And that's Stubbs. If you look on his bottle, it says love and happiness. Yeah. And that was important to him and important to us. So
yeah. Well, and I feel like you've carried that motto on through your other businesses, right? I feel like that is one thing that really stuck out today, was the authenticity of who you are and how you wanted to replicate that in these very unique and special locations. But I just love that I learned a little bit more about each of those locations. And I learned a little bit more, especially EBERLY, just about that bar.
Yeah.
And about the name, and of course about the history you had with your brother and spending time at that bar. So it's kind of just brought a whole new, aroma to it.
Yeah. And I would just add that that's my story. But what I've learned about EBERLY is that there's a lot of stories like mine, like where people got engaged at the bar.
Yeah.
When there was, I think, a 90-year-old man that came from New York that came to Austin because he used to go there with his wife every week, stuff like that. So there is life stories in everything we do, and to be able to have that in a public format is really, it's really exciting and inspirational to hear these stories. And I think, that is, you can be successful for a day, a week, a year. You see a lot of businesses that do that. The key to success is to be able to do that for a decade, 2 decades, for 100 years. If you can do that, that is the secret sauce.
Yeah.
And some of the things we do are just proud to be a little part of that.
Yeah. Well, it's been such a pleasure to talk to you. So again, hopefully, if you're listening, everyone go try out all these places. They are phenomenal. They're iconic Austin locations. And again, thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate it. So thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.